This episode is proudly sponsored by Chill Bombs, the makers of handmade, all-natural CBD-infused bath bombs. Check them out at chillbombs.com and use our code SPIRITS for 10% off. Enjoy the show, y'all! Hey, y'all, I'm Leah Lawrence.
And I'm her husband, Mitch Lawrence.
And you are listening to the Southern Spirits Podcast, where I regale my husband with Southern stories of the macabre, creepy, and strange.
And I drink.
So what are you drinking tonight, Mitchell?
Our beer tonight is Astronut Brown Ale, handcrafted and canned by Rocket Republic Brewing Company in Madison, Alabama. It's 5.8% alcohol by volume. Let's read the can. For those who gravitate toward the nuttier side, this English-style brown ale is for you. Still a session-style beer despite its full-bodied flavor and dark color. Hints of malty richness complements the caramel color and toasted almond undertones, making it just the right combination which is sure to send us lunatics flying straight to the moon and back. Personal time. First of all, there is a ring around the can that says, "One small sip for man, one giant taste for mankind." Thought it was a little bit too cheesy. Didn't mention it till just now. So, anyway, the beer itself is not cheesy. It's super nutty and super delicious. I associate this type of beer, like a nut brown, with like Christmas time, or at the very least cold weather. That's what this beer's made for, I think. You know, it's real heavy and real filling, and it's just delicious, a real full flavor. But it's also surprisingly light filling at first. Like, I don't know how to put it. Am I right? Do you follow me?
None of the words that you used go together.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
No,
and it's
you're
also
not
super
making
cheesy.
sense.
It's delicious. It's really good. It doesn't feel very heavy, but then like it hits your stomach, and then everything kind of feels relaxed, and like, you know, you just want to go to sleep after a little while. It's comforting. It's a comfort beer.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
And if you can find it anywhere, give it a try. It's all over the place around here because we're right by it. But, you know, if you can find it, I guarantee that you will like it if you like a nut brown. And I like an Astronut Brown Ale. I gave it a 9 out of 10. Really good. And our shot in the dark for the night, the Real Dill Moonshine. It's been on the show before. Produced and bottled by Old Smoky Distillery, LLC in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's 20% alcohol by volume. And if you would like to hear the full review, refer to episode number 44, which was entitled A Hole in a Ghillie Suit. We gave it a 7.5 out of 10. That's probably going to change. I just wasn't feeling it at the time. I am feeling it now. And, you know, just a nice quick alcohol session this time, Leah. Section, not session. And I think we're done. I'm ready to start eating some pickles, personally.
Alrighty, well, let's go into some listener mail, because we've got some listener mail.
Listener mail. That's exciting. Okay. Hit me with it.
Oh, do you not make sounds for that?
I normally do it for the Patreon things, but here, I'll give you this.
Why did you pick the longest one?
It's a mosquito. That is not the longest one. Let me find the longest one.
I don't need you to poke the longest one. Stop. Don't do it.
I'm not going
Mitchell?
to.
Okay, so fucking A, I knew you were going for that one.
Everybody sit here and soak it in.
Oh my god, this is so fucking long.
That's what she said. You may continue,
She
madam.
never said that. Okay.
Well, not to me, but
No.
I heard it. somewhere.
Anyway, so our very first postcard of the evening comes from West Virginia, and it says on the front, it's got a old-timey picture of two kids sitting on a porch, and it says West Virginia since 1863. Come on down and sit a spell.
Okay.
And on the back, it says, just watch out for the ogwa. I've heard they bite. # turtle power. And this is sent to us from Beth in West Virginia, I assume.
Well, thank you, Beth.
Thank you so much. This is really awesome. We haven't gotten one from West Virginia yet. That's awesome.
I like it. I like the insider knowledge as well.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's going to go in my postcard pile so I can get it up on the wall.
Yay.
The cork thing for the top of the podcast room came in. I just have to get on a fucking ladder and hang it up,
and get the motivation to do it.
Well, yeah, but the people that know me know that I'm terrified of ladders and heights of any sort because I'm aforementionedly clumsy. So
I'll do it if you want me to do it.
Okay, Okay, well, maybe I'll make Mitch get on a ladder. But anyway.
That's what the episode should be. It should be me faintly being heard in the background, hanging up the cork while you tell the stories.
Yeah, I've also got to buy some thumbtacks because I forgot that you have to like have something to actually
No, just spit on the back of it and slap it in.
Yeah, and I just use straight pins most of the time on my cork board in my craft room. So anyway, gotta get that together. But as soon as I get that up, I'm going to post pictures on the Instagram and whatnot.
Ooh.
Anyway, we have a second card.
Another one.
Yeah, it's from Mason. I believe he belongs to the Possum Passel. Am I right? Pretty sure.
I don't know.
Pretty sure he was a new subscriber to the Possum Passel. Anyway.
I don't know, but he gets the mosquito sound too.
Excellent. All right, so Mason just sent us a little card. I think it's actually his job stationery is what it says, so I'm not going to call you out on that one. Okay. So I'm definitely not going to say where you work. But it says that he apparently works in some kind of outdoor supplier industrial kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
And he said he was at outdoor retailer, which I assume was maybe I don't know. Anyway, he said he was at outdoor retailer and there was a hiking group there. I think it's like a convention, like a trade show. I don't know.
Maybe.
But he said he was at there and there was a hiking group whose purpose is to search for Sasquatch. And they were passing out stickers. And these stickers are made of wood because they didn't want trash ending up in his habitat.
Oh, cool.
So he has sent us a little...
I almost said it on the back. That's what it is you don't want to say, right?
Huh?
Is that what it is you don't want to say? No? Okay. Uh-huh. Well, they're 3M stickers.
Well, yeah, 3M. I mean, that's just the adhesive.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
Anyway.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, so these stickers are super daggum cute, and he sent us one, and it's a Bigfoot foot, and it's like laser etched, and it has a big outline of Sasquatch, and it says "Believe" on it, and I'm super fucking pumped because you know how I feel about Sasquatch, and I love this sticker. So thank you, Mason. I do, in fact, enjoy it very much.
Thank you. It's a wonderful little package there.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Is what she said.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Indeed.
Leah.
Always. But if you want to send me a postcard from wherever you live, I would love to put it up in the podcast room and take pictures of it and talk about it on the show because you know how I feel about postcards. So if you want to do that, just send us whatever you feel to the post office box, which is P.O. Box 1743, Hartselle, Alabama 35640, and that address is also in our show notes every time. So if you're looking for it, it's down there. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. What did Dobby just do?
I don't know.
Leah just freaked the dog out somehow.
He just keeps jumping at the couch, and I don't know what's going on. But anyway.
Is there a little bug in there?
Maybe. So let's go on and talk about a funny place name. Are you ready for that?
I surely am.
All right. So this week, in honor of the lovely postcard that we just received, we're going to stick in West Virginia. And we are going to be talking about Friendly, West Virginia.
Oh, Friendly?
Yes,
That's
Friendly.
Cute. Okay.
Friendly is a town in Tyler County, West Virginia. It's very small. At the last census, there were only 132 people living there. The town was incorporated and named Friendly in 1898, and it was most likely just named after a person called Friend Cochran Williamson. And someone named their baby Friend. That's all I'm saying.
You sure that wasn't a nickname?
No. That's his name, Friend Cochran Williamson, and they named the town Friendly. Okay. But I particularly know about this city, or town, I guess, because it's actually the setting of a very sad novel called Shiloh that I read in 4th grade.
Is that what isn't there like a animated movie about it too?
It's an actual live action movie, but yes, there is a movie that was made quite some time ago called Shiloh as well after the book.
Yeah, at least early 90s. It might have been before that.
No, I think it was when I was in elementary, or just...
Early 90s.
No, I'd say early 2000s, but anyway, now you should probably Google that. I want to know now. But anyway, there's also an heirloom tomato variety called the Friendly Tomato. And it was discovered...
the Friendly Tomato.
It was discovered in West Virginia in 1884, and it was discovered by a man named James Lyde, not Lyle, Lyde. James Lyde Williamson, and it was growing in a pile of just trash near the Ohio River, and he saved it and was like, "Oh, let's make more tomatoes out of this." So
Shiloh's
that's where
the Beagle movie, right?
Yeah, with the cute little beagle on the front.
1996.
Damn it!
You're so old. Yeah, it was when I was in elementary school. So, like, 2007 or so.
Mitchell, I didn't say that.
I'm so young.
I remember reading the book when I was in 4th grade. And I thought the movie came out after that, but...
I'm sure it did.
Mitchell, I'm not 112.
You're so old.
Go fuck yourself.
Your math is awful.
I am 29 years old. Thank you very much. Go suck a dick.
You're
anyway.
almost 30.
Yes. Thank you for your math skills, sir.
Man.
All right. Well, that put a damper on the evening.
I disagree. I'm having a great time.
All right. Well, are you ready for our very first story of the evening?
I sure am.
All right. Well, we're going to stick close to Alabama. Well, in Alabama, let's be honest, for both of our stories this evening.
All right.
So we are starting out, and we're talking about the Alabama torso murders, also called the Mr. X and Mr. Y murders, or just that time those people found dead people in Alabama, because it's not a very consistent story across sources, but
I'm uncomfortable.
The torso murders is about as close as you're going to get looking this up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Just a content warning. It does talk about dismemberment, hence the torso murder thing.
No, you could have fooled me. I thought it was just torsos murdering bitches.
So, yeah, if that makes you uncomfortable at all, skip to the second story, because we've got something that's way less murdery for that one. Okay.
How exciting.
So
I can't wait for that second one.
Started. All
Yay.
right. So on June the 28th of 1959, there was a man named O.P. Holliday. And he was just sort of walking down the road like you do, hanging out, walkity walk. And he stumbled upon...
I feel like you wanted me to say something.
No.
But I don't know what there was to say.
No, you just ruined my flow. That's what you did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Start over. Walking down, flippity flop.
No.
Hanging out, hoopity hop. Walking.
He was walking.
Okay.
And he stumbled upon the torso, the, disemboweled. Is that how
disemboweled, correct.
Because, anyway, it was just a torso of a Caucasian man, and he found this while he was walking outside of Attala, Alabama, near Gadsden.
Mm-hmm.
And that's along the U.S. Highway 11, if anybody cared. So... that was generally startling for him, and so he called the cops and was like, "Hey, cops,
I've
I got
been
a
generally
torso
startled
for you."
Listen, you need to come out here, but fair warning, you will be generally startled by what you're going to find.
Yeah, generally startled.
Oh, God, if y'all have never watched How I Met Your Mother, Leah and I do that all the time. I'll be like, "Man, that was a major disappointment," and Leah will go, "Major disappointment," and salute me. All the time.
Anyway.
So now we have this.
So then after that was reported, and it was oh my God, there's a torso.
He was generally what, Leah?
Startled.
Okay.
Then the next day, there was a family out on just sort of like a family walk. I don't know why these people were walking around on the road out there. Maybe
there was
they were
a
just
time
trying
before
to get
cars, Leah.
This was in 1959, Mitchell.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't have cars.
I guess. But anyway, the Partlowen family of St. Clair County were out walking along the highway just outside of Asheville, Alabama. And holy shit, what did they happen to get generally startled by on their walk?
Let me guess.
Yeah.
Bear.
Nope. It was another torso.
Fuck. I was going to have a second guess.
It was another torso of a Caucasian man. Both of these torsos had been killed by gunshot wounds and had had their arms, limbs, and head removed, with an axe. So they kind of put two and two together and were like, huh, maybe these two go together. And they did, turns out. So they also found some bloody underwear that they believe was worn by one of the victims.
He just went to Chipotle.
Also a possibility. And that was found 2.5 miles west of Piedmont County in Calhoun County. West of Piedmont in Calhoun County. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Anyway, my point is, these bodies and the clothes have been found in 3 separate counties. You know, it's a widespread kind of disbursement of clues. I don't know.
All right.
It doesn't work without the hand motions,
yeah,
okay?
Y'all should totally see what Leah's doing with her hands.
I'm flapping my hands and it's not working very well. Anyway, so they are freaked out. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand why these 2 torsos are there. And eventually the community got together, and on July the 1st, they had a graveside service where they, buried the 2 victims' torsos. And they were buried in the Alabama City Cemetery.
Okay.
The 2 bodies ended up being called Mr. X and Mr. Y, and they went unidentified for 20 days because they were so hacked up and they couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it was just a torso.
Yeah, it was 2 torsos, and, DNA wasn't a thing, so, it took them a hot minute to figure things out. So, initially, they were looking for clues, and they had no idea why they would have... I mean, this is a violent fucking way to go. So, initially, they were like, okay, maybe it was a gang kind of thing, or the mob was in on this, or there was some kind of revenge murder. They had all sorts of theories and ideas about what had happened and who these people were. But the leads were very, very spotty, right?
Right.
So the investigator asked Charles Brooks of the Birmingham News to sketch what he thought the faces of the bodies that they had found might possibly look like.
Why? How could you possibly do that?
You couldn't. I mean, generally, you would probably know their build or body type and that they were white, and that's about it. But they ended up having to exhume the corpses, or the torso corpses. Corpsos? Anyway.
Yeah, corpsos. That's the plural of corpses.
Anyway, I meant torso corpse, and anyway. But whatever. They exhumed those body parts, and they had placed them in morgue storage. So, shot in the dark.
Uh-oh. Got it on time that time.
It turns out that the 2 torsos were actually related. In real life, were they A, father and son, B, cousins, or C, brothers?
Okay. All right. I am going to take a wild guess here and say brothers.
You are correct.
Yay.
They were brothers.
All right, let me get you a pickle.
Is that a euphemism, or are you actually getting me a pickle?
We'll all find out in just a moment. Everybody give me a brief moment. Lee, you can continue reading so there's not a bunch of silence right here if you'd like.
All right. Well, so it turns out that I guess the sketches of the imagined faces of the torso body things turned out to be pretty good, because it turns out that the sketches kind of resembled 2 brothers from Andalusia. And Andalusia being a city in Alabama.
That is a city in Alabama.
And the brothers' names were Lee Harper, who was 55, and Emmett Harper, who was 48. Both of them were working in Anniston at the time, and they shared a car. And they had both been missing from their jobs in Anniston for about 2 weeks.
Got some nut brown ale down the wrong pipe.
Okay, well, I've got my pickle.
Yeah. You don't have to eat it all at once if you don't want to. You can just gnaw on it. It would be a lot cooler if you just folded it up and ate it all together, though.
Oh my God, I love these pickles.
They're very good. They really are. I'm going to have one just to have it.
They've got a good garlic bite to them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're actually good pickles as well as being alcoholic,
Just don't chew too much or you're going to get all the moonshine.
As we were told at Old Smoky, chew, chew, swallow.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It hits.
excellent advice for more than one thing in life.
I could tell a filthy joke right now. Should I do it?
No.
Let me do it.
I know the joke. Please don't do it.
All right, I'm going to tell it.
No, you're not.
Leah, how do you know if you have a high sperm count?
How?
If a lady has to chew before she swallows.
Mitchell, that's the joke that I told, but much more subtly. Everybody knows the joke. Jesus.
No. Now everyone knows the joke. Because I told it. God, these are good. Okay. That's definitely going up from 7.5. Give me that plate. You can't have that plate.
All right, well, I finished my pickle.
Yeah, you did. You hoe.
Anyway. So, basically, they've decided that they think that the two torsos actually were Lee and Emmett Harper.
Yeah.
And so they looked around and they started collecting evidence again. And it turns out that one of the shirts that one of the torsos was wearing had sort of his name marked in the tag for laundry purposes, I guess.
Yeah. One of the corpsos did?
Yeah, and it said Lee in the in marker on the tag. So they're like, yeah, this definitely points to it being Lee Harper and Emmett Harper. So once they, found out who it was, they start investigating the brothers and the people surrounding the brothers. Mm-hmm. So the Harper brothers actually turned out to be tenants at a farm in Anniston, and it was the Hyatt farm.
Yeah. I'm so confused about where these bodies were found.
They were found scattered.
I know, they're scattered because I'll give y'all a brief rundown. Anniston is basically northeast Alabama, like not all the way in the corner, but northeast generally. Mm-hmm. Andalusia is pretty much south central Alabama. And Calhoun County is south a little bit west Alabama. Mm-hmm. So the reason these two brothers were so far spread out is very enticing to me. I want to know what's happening.
Which is what we're doing right now.
I'm into this. I'm trying to give the people a little bit. Because there also weren't highways back then like there are now.
Some of them were there, but not all of them.
I think Eisenhower had just started the interstate program, so I don't think there were any interstates in Alabama yet. Might have been.
Anyway, what he's saying is very true. These body parts were spread the fuck out, like over 3 counties spread out, like big. But anyway... So
3 counties at opposite ends of the state.
Yeah.
Big. Yeah.
So it turns out that they had a trailer on the Hyatt farm. It was a little bit away from the main house. They were said to have kept to themselves, and they drank a whole lot. And apparently Lee had dated the family daughter, whose name was Viola at one point. I mean, her name was always Viola, but they had dated at one point.
At one point, her name was Viola.
Anyway.
Later in life, it was Frank.
So turns out that Viola became a main suspect of this particular case. Her name was, when she was born, she was called Virginia Viola Hyatt. She was born February the 3rd of 1929. Her mother died soon after she was born, so that left her dad, Martin Hyatt, just hanging out trying to raise an infant child, and I guess, in the 20s, that was difficult. So he needed someone to take care of his daughter right away. So he married a lady named Jessie Wheeler, who was basically an old maid at the time. She was in her mid-30s and had never been married before. So he married that lady.
Stay away from those. Something's wrong with them if they're in their 30s and unwed.
Right?
Leah, you barely got in under the deadline.
Oh, fuck yourself. We were 26 when I got married. It was not mid-30s. And even if it was mid-30s, that is a perfectly normal time to get married.
I was what, 28,
yeah.
I think? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah, so I just made it. I was almost an old maid.
Anyway, so the family lived on a 40-acre farm, and they had a mule, and it was pretty nice. They had just a nice operating farm like you would have at that time, just normal, nice, everyday kind of people. It was 15 miles northeast of Anniston, in a little settlement called White Plains. They grew a lot of corn and cotton as their main crops. What?
It's funny to watch you stumble across words because you go like cotton, and watching you hold your N I don't know. It made me laugh. I'm sorry. We got to start doing video on this thing so people get it.
No. They grew corn and cotton as their main, staples. And then they had a big vegetable garden, and they had a bunch of pigs, and they had a bunch of chickens. And I mean, it was just a really nice, normal farm.
Oh.
And so, it was a good upbringing for the most part. But apparently Viola was kind of an awful kid. She wanted to get everything her way. She insisted on getting her way all of the time. She was kind of a mean and slightly violent child. And she was said to, catch bullfrogs a lot. And when they tried to escape, she would, stab them. And that seems a little iffy as a child, if you ask me. Apparently
she's a
she
killer.
was just, she was kind of a deeply emotionally disturbed kind of kid.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, apparently she was also a big fan of Southern gospel music. And she liked going to church and singing a lot. So that's Viola. But anyway, by the time
That's Viola.
by the time these torso murders took place, Viola was 30 years old, and she was living on the farm still with her father Martin and her stepmother Jessie. Mm-hmm. So during the investigation, it actually turned out that Viola had been calling the brothers' place of employment, I guess, where they were working, and telling their bosses that they were visiting their mother, who was in the hospital, and that they weren't back yet, so that's why they hadn't been coming to work for the last couple of weeks.
How'd they find out that she was doing it? You know what I mean?
Well, because I'm sure they say, because they lived on her family's farm, so they would have been close enough to say, hey, they're out of town for a little bit, this is why, etc.
Okay.
I'm sure she used her own name, is my point.
Okay, well, that's what I was saying. Did she call in and say, hey, this is Viola?
Yeah.
I just got done stabbing a bullfrog, and they'll be out today.
Yeah, that would be my guess. But anyway. But yeah, that whole situation kind of made her the main target of the investigation. So Viola was eventually arrested, and she was tried, and she confessed after 6 hours of questioning to killing the Harper brothers.
Wow.
Yep. Police quoted Ms. Hyatt as saying that she shot the brothers in the face with her father's 12-gauge shotgun. Then she chopped them up with an axe because they had, quote, abused her. And Viola also said that she chopped up the men with her father's double-headed axe and deposited their remains throughout 3 counties, throwing a leg out here and an arm out there, rolling the 2 faceless torsos in different places, tossing the heads here and there, body parts everywhere, just everywhere.
Yeah. Did they ever find all of them?
No, they did not.
Oh.
So Viola ended up taking the investigators on what was described as a 50-mile journey along what she called the Whiskey Trail to show where she had stopped to dump different body parts along the way. They did collect a lot of stuff, but not enough to complete 2 skeletons. Or 2, full corpses. So, Viola said that she killed the brothers around midnight on June the 28th of 1959. And it was, real bad, as obvious. And so basically, the weird thing about this is that a lot of people don't believe that she's the one who did it because she doesn't really have any motive.
Yeah.
She
was killing bullfrogs. She's just a serial killer.
They say that there were different reasons that people had put forth saying, maybe she was mad that they stopped dating and, or maybe that they were actually, molesting her in some way, or that, maybe that was the reason, but there was never really a good reason for her to have just savagely dismembered these men. And a lot of people think that maybe it was actually her father that was the one that killed him, and that she was just taking the fall for it. Or that maybe they had actually abused her and her father did kill them because of it. There's a lot of speculation as to what actually occurred as the motive of these murders.
And now looking back on it, the misogyny is just ruthless. This dainty little woman could have never done it. Am I right?
No, a lot of people pretty sure she fucking shot him in the face and chopped him up.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the misogyny is the reason that people figured that this dainty little girl couldn't kill these two guys.
Yeah, that is part of it, but a lot of it is also just the fact that there's really almost no motive for her to have done that, other than maybe she's just nuts. That's...
She's just a serial killer. That's it.
I mean, she doesn't have enough kills to be a serial killer, but a spree murderer probably.
Yeah. She would have been a serial killer. She would have killed more men on the farm and dumped their bodies. So, like, she had access to a car, though, and she was driving from Anniston down to Andalusia and back and all that?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty big for 1959, too.
Yeah. So she ended up pleading guilty to 2 counts of murder, and she received 2 life sentences in 1960, but she refused to tell her story in court. She just basically was like, whatever, I'm not giving you reasons. I don't need, I did it. Sentence me. You know what I mean?
Deal with it. And she put on sunglasses.
So Viola Hyatt ended up spending about 10 years in Tutwiler prison. And she was paroled in April of 1970.
They paroled her?
They paroled her in April of 1970, and she spent the entire decade as, quote, an exceptionally good inmate. She didn't start any problems. She was just a real, good inmate, basically. But it said that in some of the interviews and stuff that I wrote,
That you wrote?
Read.
Where'd you write them to? We used to write our interviews all the way out of town.
In some of the interviews that I read, it said that Viola's stepmother, Jessie, was kind of terrified of Viola and always had been because she was such a terror of a child. And apparently she had a massive heart attack and died on the day that Viola was released from prison.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
That's scary. And after she was released from prison, and before she ended up dying, Viola was just a real quiet lady. She lived in a trailer park by herself. She didn't talk to anybody. She just was, sort of a loner. She was a pretty big lady, and she used to sit on her porch and read her Bible. And that's just sort of how she spent her days. Her neighbors said she was real friendly, but she was quiet, and she stayed to herself.
She had a murder dungeon for bullfrogs in her basement, though.
Possibly. It was a trailer, though, so there's no basement.
Well, in one wide of the trailer. There we go.
Anyway, Viola's church, or her pastor, the minister there, said that she had prayed for forgiveness while watching an evangelist on television in jail, and that she got saved and she loved Jesus, so it was fine. She's good. But even with all the speculation about what had actually happened or if she was covering up for someone, she still went to her grave saying that she wasn't going to tell anybody what was going on. Like I said, a lot of people don't believe that she was the one who actually did it. But she died in the hospital in Jacksonville in June of 2000. And all she ever said about what happened or what her motive was, quote, "They done me wrong," end quote. Huh. And that's what got him torso murdered.
She is a nightmare,
Yeah.
Just ugh.
Yeah.
Good for her, though. Good for her. Basically getting away with it.
I mean, she spent 10 years in Tutwiler. That's not nothing, but...
Yeah, I mean, with what she did, she probably should have gotten the death penalty, But, misogyny. And
probably, but I mean, still, Tutwiler is not a walk in the park from what I've heard.
No, it's not. It's the only ladies' prison in Alabama, so there's that. There are some female work releases, but that's the one prison for females in Alabama. Julia Tutwiler. I
actually used to make a joke about it because when I was a freshman, I lived in Tutwiler, but it was a dorm on Montevallis campus and not the prison. So
honestly, I don't even remember what Julia Tutwiler did, but her name's fucking everywhere in Alabama. So.
Yeah, she was a governor's wife, I believe, and they wanted her to run for governor, but she never did.
Yeah, but again, I don't know what she did, what her contributions were. Because I don't pay attention in 4th grade. Like, still. I just realized how I said that. I do not pay attention in 4th grade when I'm there being creepy with all the 4th graders.
Please stop being creepy with all the 4th graders. Anyway.
How about we go to story number 2 then?
All right. Well, we are sticking in the great state of Alabama, and this time we're going to your hometown, Mitchell.
All right.
We're talking about Montgomery, for those of you who don't pay attention, and we're talking about the Child's Witted encounter.
The what?
The Child's
I don't know that one.
The Child's Witted encounter.
I have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
It's a UFO sighting that was a super duper big deal.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't know about it, so.
You ready?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I guess.
All right. So, it happened on July the 24th of 1948 at about 2:45 a.m. It was sort of in the skies over southwest Alabama, just sort of Montgomery region, you know. And so basically what was going on was there was a plane. It was an Eastern Airlines DC-3 twin-engine prop plane, and it was piloted by Clarence S. Childs and his co-pilot John B. Whited, and they were flying at about 5,000 feet, and they were headed from Houston, and they were going to Atlanta. And right as they, well, I'm skipping ahead. I'm going to go back. Anyway, the aircraft had about 20 people on board. 19 of them were completely asleep because it was, 2:45 in the morning. And what happened was they were just sort of chugging along, I guess. Do planes chug?
Yes, I believe that they do. But especially because they are coal-powered.
Well, they were chugging along. And they were
I miss coal-powered airplanes.
They were 20 miles southwest of Montgomery, Alabama, and just some weird shit started going down. So this is a direct quote from Childs, and he's describing what he saw in this official statement. And this is a quote. It says, "It was clear there were no wings present, that it was powered by some jet or other type of power, shooting flame from the rear some 50 feet. There were 2 rows of windows which indicated an upper and lower deck, and from the inside these windows a very bright light was glowing. Underneath the ship was a blue glow of light." So basically, he was piloting this plane, and all of a sudden, this fucking UFO just shows up and says, "Hey,
hey, I'm a UFO.
I'm a UFO, y'all."
Hey.
He said that he estimated that he watched the ship up close about 10 seconds before it kind of disappeared into some clouds, and he couldn't see it anymore. And then Whited also wrote down his description in this official statement, and this is what he said he saw.
Okay.
Quote, "The object was cigar-shaped and seemed to be about 100 feet in length. The fuselage appeared to be about 3 times the circumference of a B-29 fuselage. It had 2 rows of windows, an upper and lower. The windows were very large and seemed square. They were white with light, which seemed to be caused by some type of combustion. I asked Captain Childs what we had just seen, and he said that he didn't know." So
creepy.
Yeah, a weird, creepy, cigar-shaped UFO with windows, basically.
Alrighty.
And I said before that of the 20 people that were on board, or passengers that were on board, only one of them was awake. Well, that passenger's name was Clarence L. McKelvey, and he was from Columbus, Ohio. And he also corroborated the pilot's account that they had seen, this really bright object, and that they didn't know what it was, and that it streaked past his window. But he said he really wasn't really able to describe it further than that because his window was so small and it was a weird angle. So he only saw the light for the most part.
Okay.
So
I'm enjoying it so far.
This became a flap, like you do.
A flap?
Like a thing.
Okay.
A media brouhaha.
Leah, I don't speak 1948. Please update it for 2019. This became a meme.
It went
Say
viral.
That. Thank you. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay,
Thank you.
the account of this went viral. So both of the pilots ended up, when they were being interviewed and stuff, they ended up making drawings of the craft separately that they believed that they had seen. And they had, you can look up the pictures right now. It's the Child's Whited encounter drawings, and you'll come up with them. And they both look remarkably similar. It just looks like a cigar-shaped UFO.
Looks like a
2
submarine.
rows of windows and like a...
Yeah.
Sort of a jet tail out the back, right?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a submarine.
Yeah, it's very submarine-y looking. You're right.
Yeah.
Rockety, I guess.
With a carrot tail. Kind of looks like a carrot in some of these drawings. Like it's got a big fluffy head. You know?
So, it ended up that they, were interviewed in detail by newspapers. They were on radio interviews. Some of them happened just hours after the sighting was actually reported. The Atlanta Constitution newspaper, it's July the 25th, headline was, Atlanta pilots report wingless sky monster.
But were they from Atlanta? They were just in Montgomery?
Well, they were headed to Atlanta, so they might have been based out of Atlanta. I'm not sure. But they were headed from Houston to Atlanta.
I just don't like how Georgia always steals all Alabama's good shit. Like slavery and, just general civil rights problems.
Bless.
Fuck you, Georgia. Those are our things.
Anyway, so that article described what Childs said as like basically a close encounter UFO kind of thing. And the quote from that article is, "We veered to the left and it veered to its left and passed us up about 700 feet to our right and about 700 feet above us. Then, as if the pilot had seen us and wanted to avoid us, it pulled up with a tremendous burst of flame out of its rear and zoomed up into the clouds." So Childs and Whited were absolutely baffled and kind of freaked out by this whole thing. And it turns out that they were not the only ones that were freaked out about this whole thing. Because it became a major deal for the United States Air Force. So they were really looking into UFO cases at this time. Project Blue Book was, a big thing. All of those documents have been recently are declassified. So if you're interested in any of that, you can go on the federal website and look at some of that stuff. It's really boring, but if you're a super nerd, go for it. It is available for you now.
It is super boring.
Yeah. But people were like trying to figure out if it was possible that this could be an aircraft that was an experimental aircraft of the United States. But when asked for comment, there was the president of the Boeing Aircraft Corporation at the time. His name was William M. Allen. And he told the press that he was pretty sure it was not one of our planes, saying that he didn't know of any kind of plane being built in the U.S. at the time that matched the description.
I don't know flying carrots.
Which, I mean, like, even if he had a flying carrot, he wasn't going to admit to the flying carrot. Let's be real about it. Anyway, you never admit to the giant flying carrot. But anyway.
I disagree.
There was also a General George C. Kinney, and he was the chief of the Strategic Air Command. And he was responsible for, basically he was the guy in charge of if there was a nuclear strike during the Cold War. You know what I mean? Like, he was that guy. And he told the Associated Press at the time, quote, "The Army hasn't anything like that. I wish we did." End quote. So once again, if he had a flying carrot, he wouldn't fucking cop to owning the flying carrot either. So, just saying, could have been a cover-up. But anyway.
A cover-up for the carrot. The Carrot Coverup.
The Carrot
That's what they should have
Coverup.
called this fucking thing.
Nope. But anyway, this particular, incident was taken much more seriously by the Air Force than a lot of other things were. But part of that is because of who had the sighting. So both Childs and Whitted were both highly decorated veterans from the Air Force. They both served as officers during World War II, and they were, just highly respected,
decorated, maybe,
and decorated pilots from the time. And then also the guy that was awake at the time that just saw the flash past the window. He was also an Air Force veteran, and he flew, and he knew what was going on too. So these were three people that knew what things in the air looked like. You know what I mean? And so the fact that these three people were corroborating this sighting, it got them a little bit more freaked out than I think that they would have normally been if it had just been someone else making these claims, right? So basically, this ends up causing the Air Force, the ATIC, the Air Technical Intelligence Center, to write up a document about this whole situation. And the title that they gave this whole thing, which once again, since it's declassified, you can go read, but is boring. The whole thing was titled, quote, "Estimate of the Situation," end quote.
What a terrible fucking title.
Yeah, I know, it's a terrible title.
Call it Estimate of the Flying Carrot's Length.
Anyway, there was an Air Force officer at the time, and he was the first head of the Project Blue Book situation, and his name was Edward J. Ruppelt, and he apparently saw a copy of this Estimate of the Situation report, and he claims that the situation was UFOs. And the estimate of what the situation was that they were interplanetary vehicles. And according to this Ruppelt dude, the report, the estimate of the situation, kind of went up the chain of command in the Air Force, and it made its way all the way up to General Hoyt S. Vandenberg. And I'm assuming he's the Vandenberg, like the one the Air Force base in California is named after.
No idea.
I'm pretty sure that's probably him. I don't know of many more Vandenbergs, but...
I will say that one of my favorite TV shows is Ruppelt's Drag Race.
Wrong Ruppelt, baby. Wrong Ruppelt.
Oh, no.
But anyway, the General Hoyt S. Vandenberg was the Air Force Chief of Staff. And so he basically didn't believe in UFOs, thought the whole thing was bullshit, and basically nixed the whole estimate of the situation report and was like, absolutely not. Apparently a group from the Air Technical Institute Center went to the Pentagon and tried to tell him no, these are legit UFOs and they're interplanetary and stuff. But apparently this Vandenberg guy was like, nah, there's no ET. Don't bullshit with me.
Just carrots.
So that Ruppelt guy is basically after Vandenberg nixed the whole situation, it was just basically burned. Nobody dealt with it anymore. It was no longer an issue or a thought. So part of the reason for that is that Vandenberg didn't believe that UFOs were interplanetary at all. He believed that they were all the handiwork of the Soviet Union, basically. He believed that the Soviets had a bunch more technology that we didn't know about. He thought that a lot of these were photo reconnaissance kind of drones of some sort, you know what I mean? And he was really freaked out and scared that that's what was going on. So he was focused on that kind of thing, that kind of legitimate, tangible, actual threat, as opposed to thinking that any of this stuff was a UFO, interplanetary UFO.
So he definitely thought it was Russians or something.
He thought it was Russians, basically. He thought it was the Soviets. So basically that whole thing just went nowhere. But anyway, sort of compounding on the whole conspiracy-ish theory of this whole situation, the sighting actually happened, right outside Montgomery, which is just a short flight away from the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, where I work. And if you don't know anything about the Marshall Space Flight Center or, Huntsville in general,
she does not work at the Space Flight Center. She works in Huntsville.
I don't. I work in Huntsville. I've been to the Marshall Space Flight Center. I've been to space camp, but
You and millions of other people.
yes,
I've
very true.
been, though. Well, I was going to say there were also Air Force bases in Montgomery, but I don't know if they were around in the 40s. I think they were.
I think they were too.
Yeah.
But we're getting to why Huntsville is important.
Okay.
So the Space Flight Center is there. And if you don't know anything about World War II and Huntsville, basically, Project Paperclip was, well, this is actually something that I really want to go into depth with later. But as a short summary of Project Paperclip, basically, Germany had a bunch of really good scientists. Not like good people, but like intelligent scientists. They were decades ahead of any technology that we had in rocket propulsion and that kind of thing. So they decided, you know what? We know that they're Nazis, but we really want their shit. So let's basically capture all of the Nazi scientists, offer to bring them to the United States, and make them work for us in exchange for not having them put on trial with the whole Nuremberg war crimes kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So obviously that's a great deal for those scientists. So all of them got picked up and moved to Huntsville, fucking Alabama.
Yeah. You were the one that told me that. I didn't know that.
I don't know if that was a great trade, but they ended up in Huntsville.
There were already a lot of Nazis here in the first place.
Yeah,
So
but
what are you
anyway,
gonna do?
so that is actually why Huntsville has a pretty like decent German cuisine kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
There's several German restaurants. There's a really good German restaurant that I've been told on the Arsenal because it was built for all of the Nazi scientists in the 40s. But anyway, so that's where you get your Werner von Braun, who was the leader of that whole situation, who was doing the V2 testing and all of that stuff. So yeah, a lot of people believe that this whole thing was actually early V2 testing that's
like V2 rocket?
V2 rocket testing that kind of got out of hand. Or
what she's
was
talking about, we have a von Braun Center here. We have like a convention center, basically
it's a civic center.
Yeah. A giant thing in Huntsville called the Von Braun Center.
Yeah, it's literally named after a Nazi.
Yeah, but, you know,
Huzzah.
what are you going to do? I mean, as I learned in White Lies, that NPR podcast, the same year that Selma, Alabama elected their first black mayor, they erected a statue to Nathan Bedford Forrest.
Yeah, well.
That's kind of what Alabama does, you know.
There you go. But anyway.
Hey, at least the white people are great. Am I right?
Kill me. Anyway, but yeah, so Werner von Braun was conducting all of that kind of testing in Huntsville at the time. So a lot of conspiracy folk believe that it's highly possible that what they actually saw was a test for one of the early iterations of the V2 rocket that was being launched out of the Marshall Space Flight Center. And that was very classified at the time, so it's very possible that it was a rocket that they saw. It sort of has that long, thin shape. There might have been markings on the fuselage that sort of mimicked that thing. Granted, the V2 is much smaller, I believe, than what they described, but I'm honestly not sure. But that is, like I said, a very good thought as to what it could have been. But, of course, as J. Allen Hynek is wont to do, he shuffles in. And J. Allen Hynek, we've talked about plenty of times in all of our UFO discussions. He worked for Project Blue Book, and basically he comes in and is making his determination of what actually happened. So he starts to make his determination of what actually happened. So, shot in the dark.
Okay.
What did Childs and Whitted's I'm sorry, I'm not good at this.
You're doing
Let me
so
rephrase.
Good. You're doing so good.
What was the Air Force's official explanation of the object that those dudes saw?
Okay.
Was it A, ball lightning? Was it B, a meteor? Or was it C, a misidentification of the planet Venus?
Oh, definitely Venus.
You're
Venus.
incorrect.
Fuck. Okay, well, I'll have another pickle.
His explanation that it was, in fact, a meteor.
Okay, do you want a pickle?
I'm good, thank you. But he basically said that it was a fireball. It was a big old meteor that was streaking past, and that's what they saw, and the windows that they saw were just an illusion, and it was just a big old meteor ball.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the lighted windows that the pilots both claimed to have seen were suggested to be a phenomenon called the, quote, airship effect, where an observer will see an unrelated group of lights in the sky and they are sort of fooled into thinking it's the same object, which, if they're seeing it as close as they said they did, it doesn't seem to go for me. But anyway, and a lot of people say that the meteor is the best thought because in the particular time that they saw this object, there were a lot, it was more prone for the Earth to have meteor showers in this period of the summer, and that meteors had been reported across the southeast over the previous few days and so, I mean, and also, if you'll think about what that particular thing looks like, they said that there was a sort of a blue glow. Not a carrot.
It is a carrot.
They said that there's sort of a blue glow around the bottom of the fuselage and then flames shooting out the back. Well, I mean, if you've seen video of up-close meteor, or basically it could be described as like that initial burning blue fire at the front and then the flame tail at the back. I could see where you could misinterpret that as a meteor, kind of, maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a stretch for me, but it's definitely more plausible than, I guess,
flying carrot.
So, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that is definitely what the Air Force decided, and that's what they're sticking with. But the Childs and Whitted guys, they stuck to their story. They said, absolutely not. We would definitely recognize a meteor if we saw one. I
feel like I'd recognize a flying carrot if I saw it.
Same. But anyway, they went on and they became pilots for Eastern Airlines. They were jet pilots, and they believed that what they saw was an airborne vehicle of some sort of an unknown origin. They never said if they believed it was alien or, of human origin, just some kind of mystery program or whatever. But yeah, they did not back down. 70 years later, they still haven't backed down.
They're still alive?
I don't think so. My guess is no, but I could be wrong. I couldn't find where they were dead, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, about 70 years ago, so they're either really old or dead. That was depressing, man.
Doesn't that describe
what a bitch.
All of us? Oh. Well, I agree with him. It probably was just a carrot.
Mitchell, it wasn't a carrot. A carrot was never on the table was an explanation. It's a UFO. It's like a classified military project, either like U.S. military or Soviet military, or it's a meteor. That's your three choices. But none of those things is a flying carrot.
Can it not be a meteor carrot?
I don't think that's a thing. Well, I know that's not a thing.
Oh, God. That pickle. Fucking A. Oh, man. Oh. I'm miserable. Oh. Well, I enjoyed hearing that. I've never heard that about Montgomery.
Well, now you know that one of the biggest, UFO cases in UFO lore came right from your hometown.
Yeah. I do know that now.
20 miles southeast of your hometown.
Yeah.
But basically the Montgomery metro area.
What town was it specifically?
It was just 20 miles southwest of Montgomery.
Well, you've said southeast and southwest.
South something. There was a direction.
Okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's
fucking
fine.
A.
I'm not that worried about it.
It was real close, okay?
That's fine. So it might have been like Raymer.
I don't know where that is.
South Montgomery County.
Okay.
Anyway, it's not important. Don't worry about it, my love.
All right, well, how about we go directly into our toast?
Okay, give me a toast. Please.
Okay, everybody, hoist your pickles high into the sky. We're going to do a real quick toast.
Hoist your carrots.
Hoist your carrots, too, because Mitch is weird. We're going to be toasting the Axe Lady and the fact that aliens showed up. I don't know. Let's do this.
All right.
If you done her wrong, you shouldn't relax. Viola's feisty and good with an axe. What interstellar being would want to come here? All we've got is football and lots of craft beer. Drink.
Well, so you just fucking gave up, didn't you?
What? How is that a give up? All the meter's good and it rhymes?
I'm just fucking with you.
You're such a dickwad. So mean to me.
I mean, we do have football and craft beer. I'll give you that. That's for sure.
I don't like football.
You like some football. You like it occasionally.
I like soccer football. Does that count?
No, that's soccer. No,
it's football to everybody but us.
The U.S. Women's team did just win, though. So
hell yeah.
I mean, give them props for that. I'm just not a soccer fan.
Equal pay. Anyway.
Yeah. That's not going to happen. I mean, we can...
It should. They're the only fucking team in this country that wins.
I agree, but, you know, I saw something online that was the U.S. women's team splits $4 million for winning the World Cup.
Yeah, winning the World Cup for the second time in a row.
And the men's team, for not making it to the World Cup, split, I think it's $38 million.
Oh my God, fuck
something
them.
like that.
And the women's team is forced to practice on turf fields, which is very bad for you, by the way.
Yeah, for your knees.
For your knees and for like if you fall on it, it scrapes you the fuck up. Oh my God. Just the differences in how they are treated just makes me want to slap the fuck out of people because they are actually winning all of it. And the men's team didn't even fucking qualify. Like, I'm sorry. Leah is on a soccer rant right now, but fuck. Just fuck.
Talking about soccer with Leah.
Sorry.
Coming your way in just a couple weeks.
I'm really heated about this particular topic, but I'm very proud of the U.S. women's team. Great job, ladies. Rock on.
They appreciate you saying that.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. Well, if y'all want to get behind our feminist movement, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Southern Spirits Podcast. We're also on Twitter at S-Spirits Podcast, where we will be live tweeting Star Trek The Next Generation. We got to get on that because we haven't watched an episode in like 5 days. Maybe even more than that.
Well, there was a holiday, and you can't Wesley Crusher on a holiday.
No, fuck Wesley Crusher. God damn it, I hate that kid. You just reminded me. I don't want to watch it anymore. You're right. Wesley Crusher. Crutcher? Wesley Crusher sucks. Send us an email, southernspiritspodcast@gmail.com. We need questions and personal stories for Midweek Minis. Send them in, including recording yourself for a personal story. We can take questions, like that too if you want. You think that would be fun?
Maybe. I mean, we will work around whatever you send us. It'll be great.
However you want to do it.
If you want to send us a video with you doing an interpretive movement of your story, girl, I will post that on our Facebook page and I'll post it on our Instagram. And I will live tweet. I don't know how this works, but if you send something to me, I will make sure that everybody else gets to enjoy it.
There you go. Promises
as long as
made.
It's not like racist or vulgar. I mean, even if it is vulgar, there's
Vulgar's
a line.
fine.
You know
Racist
what it
is
is.
the problem. Promises made, promises kept. That's our slogan.
No, it's not. It's drinking our way through the folklore of the South.
Y'all check out our new show. Well, really Leah's new show, Trailer Trashy. Subscribe to that. It's live right now. The first 3 episodes released last week. The 4th one will be out at the same time as this episode on Sunday.
So go watch it. Listen to it.
No, they can't watch it at all.
Subscribe to it.
Subscribe
Make it
and listen.
your best friend and
pick a favorite because someone has to win every week. So that's important. So pick a favorite and stick with them. And send us any fun stuff like postcards for our corkboard to go around the room to our P.O. Box. P.O. Box 1743 in Hartselle, Alabama. That's HARTSELLE 35640. And we will see you next week.
Bye, y'all. Bye.